whole goal here is to create a living seed bank of these particular native foods for this particular spot. And we're standing in the middle of one of the largest black oak forests in the West Coast, left on the West Coast. We got all different kinds of seeds here. We got yampa, the Oregon yampa, really sweet wild carrot, good native food. We got camas seed. We got at least 4 different kinds of biscuit roots, really good biscuit roots, including a really sacred Lomatium bear root, which is like it's like the OSHA, pretty much, really good stuff. We got camas bulbs, and we got fritillaria, and we also got wild onions in here as well. And Carter's got some peach pits,
cherries,
right? Cherries, stone fruits. We got a mixture of different lilies, camas, more biscuit roots, and yampa. And we're basically, most of these are edible bulbs that are really good food source. And so the key is to find the type of biome that they will grow in. And so here we are in this particular spot, and right off the bat, we know it's a good place to plant because, first of all, you got the native yampa that's already growing here. So we know yampa will grow here, and this is what we call the stingy yampa. This is like a coastal yampa that doesn't really have much of an edible root to it. So we're introducing these other types of yampa from other regions and seeing if they will breed with this yampa and become established here. So we're gonna have a whole bunch of different varieties of yampa, hopefully. And what you see here is a drainage. There's little springs all through here. And so we have this, what we call seasonal moisture going on here, which is what the yampa like. They like that in the springtime, early summer, they like the moisture, and then they like to get dry by this time of year. So this is perfect spot for yampa. And there's also different little microclimates that the camas would do really good in, all along the center of this ditch, because the water is concentrating. And as you go out to the sides, you have different microclimates for like the biscuit roots. Some of the biscuit roots actually like to grow with the camas and the yampa and this type, but then other biscuit roots like more dry areas. And so yeah, this part of it is just hunting those biomes to know where to plant, to know what the plant likes, and then it's easy. They get established really easy, and you know, it's the whole goal here is to create a living seed bank of these particular native foods for this particular spot. And we're standing in the middle of one of the largest black oak forests in the West Coast, left on the West Coast. So not only do you have a perfect little biome for these native edible roots that are perennials, you have all these really good acorns, black oak acorns, one of the most superior foods as far as acorns go, because they're high in fat. They taste really good. So we're gonna plant. And basically the tools we have for planting are this guy here. This is nice. You can just kind of like go like that and plant the seeds and cover it back up. And then you got this thing. This is for digging roots. You know, you just like pop it in there. You could lift the whole ground out and get the root out and then put the ground back in. But this is also kind of good for like little lines for seeds to plant. Cover it back up.
You pull out your root and put your seeds in the same hole?
Yeah, that's traditionally, if you're gonna harvest a bunch of yampa, you know, you go up and you would basically pop your root out, and then you dig when the seeds are ripe, so that you pop your root out and you plant the seeds back directly in the hole. So you're like multiplying, you know, that particular plant, and you're creating thicker densities. And imagine like thousands of years of native grandmothers coming back to one spot and doing that every year. So you're getting, you know, the soil is being tilled, the soil is getting easier to dig all the time, the densities get thicker, and so it becomes less work to dig because you get more every year. So yeah, it's the way to do it. The yampa, the thing about the yampa is it grows like grass, and it's really easy to move that around, and it's excellent food. It's dense minerals. These are perennials, so the first year it comes up, it's going to be about 1 inch tall grass, and then it's going to die down, and these little ball roots are going to come back every year, and it's going to get bigger and bigger, and after 2 or 3 years it's going to produce seed. And then once it produces seed, then it sticks. You've got it established, but it takes 2 or 3 years to do that. So yeah.
And what's the main goal of all of this?
To establish living seed banks, because the climate is changing and humans are developing, destroying habitats. Climate change is changing the whole zones for what can grow. You know, you got to bring these plants not just north, but you got to bring them up to higher elevations, and you got to bring them closer to water because they're not surviving, and they're getting fried by the ozone. A lot of the little tree seedlings too. So it's basically about preserving the genetics of these seeds and establishing thick densities of them for future generations, so that, you know, at some point maybe humans actually can come back and start living from these foods. But if the foods aren't there, then there's no possibility of, you know, that ever happening. The culture of the wild is connected to these foods. You know, we need to preserve them. It's kind of like it's our ancient inheritance, you know. Oh yeah, you don't need it too deep really, and I'm doing it thick because, you know, it's going to take 2 or 3 years before them to actually seed. So in the meantime, not all of them are going to survive. And I want it thick here because it's the perfect biome. The yampa is already growing thick here. The camas would do well here because it gets a lot of moisture in the early summertime before it dries up.
How deep?
Like 1 inch, no deeper than 2 inches, yeah, but like 1 inch basically. This is a mix of the yampa, the camas, and the biscuit root, and some lilies. They all grow pretty well here. And this is the headwaters of Scotts Valley watershed. I mean, like here and over there. So all of this will just kind of seed and then be taken down, and hopefully just seed all the way eventually, you know, after years, all the way down into Clear Lake. Eventually, that's where this all goes. So this wash here, basically where I collected this is a wetland bundle of seed, and got it up in Klamath Falls. And this is basically a really good biscuit root that we call sausage looks, and it can get about as big as your forearm, the roots. And it's basically, when you pop it out of the ground, it's like a loaf of bread. It's delicious. You just peel it and you can eat it raw. And there's camas in here. There's some wild onion seeds and yampa. And the place that I gathered these, they all were growing together along a wash here. And so what we have here is a wash with yampa already growing on it. So I'm just planting this whole like kind of acre meadow right here thick as thick as I can get it, and just hit this spot hard so that it becomes established and it just spreads. You want the seed to be spreading down that way. Yeah, the key is just recognizing these little microbiomes, and if you notice here, it's like there's way less competition from grass, you know what I mean? Like, there's little native bunch grasses which don't take over. There's little ferns, you know, but it's almost like bare ground here, whereas if you go up there, it gets really thick with grass, and it's not all native. There's a lot of invasive grasses up there. And so when you find a spot like this, I mean, this is like the perfect little biome to plant these native edible roots. I got really excited when I saw this. So, you know, it's developing that eye for the land, to read the land in certain ways and to know what things like, just to see patterns, and that helps you plant strategically. You know, it's like little bombs we're planting, little time bombs, weapons of mass creation, hoping to reinvigorate these habitats. So we have this spot here that was like bare ground, and there's nothing growing in it, and it's dry. It's on this slope here. It's not in the moisture down there, and so I planted 3 different types of biscuit roots here. One is the macrocarpum, which grows in the hardest, rockiest soil you can imagine. It likes having it will grow where nothing else will grow, basically. The sausage looks, and then the lomatium bare root, which is just a different type of osha. It's got that sweet medicinal root, and so all 3 of those here are thick, right here, this little bare patch. And so, you know, I planted it thick. I hit this whole little acre just like really thick. So it's gonna be like a stronghold for these guys. Cover them up.
How long have you been doing this? How many years?
That's just my first year. I've been like a solid year now of just jumping into it. We started in February. Well, we started last October actually planting. We planted a bunch of like, you know, prickly pear cactuses and stone fruits, and even some exotics like figs, walnuts, and things. And yeah, I just spent the whole season basically gathering all these seeds, going all over from Montana to Nevada to Oregon and Washington, Northern California, and yeah, it's been really fun, learning a lot. So I'm gonna keep at it, and as we plant these seeds and watch them grow, we're gonna learn and get better at, you know, spreading them around and keeping them alive, which is the whole point.